Have you ever noticed something strange? The people who hurt you always seem to walk away smiling. They lie, they betray, they replace, they disappear, and somehow life keeps rewarding them while you're left picking up the broken pieces. For a while, it feels unfair. You wonder if God saw any of it. You wonder if justice even exists. You wonder if your silence means you've lost. But what if your silence isn't defeat? What if it's the beginning of a judgment you don't even have to deliver? Because here's what most people forget. God was watching while they did you wrong. Every lie they told, every promise they broke, every night they ignored your pain, every time they made you question your worth. You didn't have to collect evidence. He already saw everything. And that's why the strongest people don't spend their lives trying to get revenge. They understand something deeper. When someone betrays you, they aren't just hurting another person. They're revealing their own character. The damage they caused lives in them long before it ever reaches you. That's why people who disrespect good-hearted people often look peaceful in the beginning. They laugh, they celebrate, they move on quickly. But appearances are temporary. Truth has a strange way of catching up. You see, most people believe punishment always arrives like lightning. Instant, loud, obvious. But real justice rarely works that way. Sometimes God lets people keep everything they wanted, just so they can realize none of it brings peace. They gain attention, but lose trust. They gain money, but lose sleep. They gain new people, but lose the ability to recognize genuine love. That's a heavier punishment than anger could ever create. And while they're busy running from one distraction to another, you're rebuilding quietly. You don't announce your healing. You don't broadcast your comeback. You simply disappear from the chaos. That silence, it confuses them because they expected tears. They expected angry messages. They expected you to chase. They expected one last explanation. Instead, nothing, just silence. And silence forces people to hear the one voice they've spent years avoiding, their own conscience. That's why your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. Not because you're trying to punish them, but because they finally have to sit alone with what they did. Many people think forgiveness means pretending nothing happened. It doesn't. Forgiveness is refusing to let their actions own your future. It means you stop carrying a burden that never belonged to you. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop begging people to value what they already threw away. You stop asking for closure from the ones who created the wound. Because the truth is, some people don't deserve another conversation. Not because you hate them, because you finally learned to protect your peace Protecting your peace isn't bitterness, it's wisdom. Remember this. People often mistake loyalty for weakness. They think you'll always stay. They think you'll always forgive. They think your kindness has no limit. Until one day, you're gone. Not with drama, not with revenge, just gone. That's when they realize they weren't dealing with someone desperate. They were dealing with someone loyal. There's a difference. Desperate people cling. Loyal people simply reach their limit. Once that limit is crossed, they don't argue. They leave forever. The most dangerous moment isn't when a good person gets angry. It's when a good person becomes peaceful. Because peace means they've accepted reality. Peace means they're no longer waiting for an apology. Peace means they're no longer hoping you'll become who you promised to be. And once someone reaches that point, you can't manipulate them anymore. The funny thing is, the people who caused the pain often believe they can return whenever they want. They think a late apology erases years of neglect. They think one emotional message can rebuild what constant disrespect destroyed. But life doesn't work like that. Trust grows slowly and dies quietly. Sometimes forever. So if you've been sitting there wondering whether they'll ever understand what they did, stop. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is becoming the person this pain was preparing you to become. Stronger, wiser, more discerning. Not colder, just harder to fool. Because pain can either make you bitter or make you impossible to manipulate. Choose the second. And if justice seems delayed, don't mistake delay for absence. Seeds don't become trees overnight. Neither do consequences. Everyone eventually meets the harvest of the choices they planted. Some harvest peace, others harvest regret. You don't have to decide which one they receive. God already has. So let them tell their version of the story. Let them call you distant, cold, heartless. People who truly know your character won't need an explanation. And those determined to misunderstand you wouldn't believe one anyway. Keep your dignity. Keep your silence. Keep walking. Because your future deserves more attention than your past. One day, they may finally realize what they lost. They may finally understand the value of the loyalty they took for granted. They may finally remember the person who stood by them when no one else did. But by then, you'll be somewhere they can no longer reach. Not because you're hiding, because you've grown. Because healing changed you. Because God didn't just protect you from them, He prepared you beyond them. So don't waste another night wondering whether they'll ever regret it. Wonder instead who you'll become because you survived it. There's chapter is over. Your purpose is just beginning. And remember this every time you're tempted to look back. They forgot that God was watching while they did you wrong.